This show has been brought to you by Taino Light Beer, coming to your favorite retailer in September in Central Florida. This show is brought to you by Boricua Beer, coming to your local retailer in September.
Are you proud to be Hispanic?
Hispanics in Florida now have the first Hispanic car license plate in the United States.
Be a proud Hispanic.
Put the Hispanic plate on your car.
I want to be a doctor.
I want to be a scientist.
I want to be an engineer.
I want to be a police officer.
I want to be a professional dancer.
By getting the Hispanic plate for your car,
you will support scholarships and community programs.
Call now or visit HispanicAchievers.org.
I am for the child who's had 7 addresses in a single year because she's in foster care, because her father abused her, and her mother couldn't believe her. She is the child I am for. I am a volunteer child advocate. I am you.
Florida residents call toll-free 866-341-1425.
Welcome back. I'm Jose Miranda. This is Hispanic Speak Out TV, brought to you each week on Bright House Channel 49. We also have 2 other great programs. One that precedes us is EDU TV with Mr. Perkins, and we have that comes up behind us is Latina Role Models, which airs immediately following this show. So please stay tuned so you can meet and greet the young ladies who represent the Latinas, okay? It's great TV, and you'll be really well informed as well. We talk about politics here, of course, and we talk about religion, and we'd even talk about your mama if we could find something to talk about her with, and we're not going against mamas, of course. But we're talking politics again a little bit, and being joined by Representative Torres. Hello, man, how are you, man?
How you doing, Jose?
Okay.
Nice being here.
My pleasure. We have known each other for a while now since you've been in office, and it's been, great having you on the air and speaking about different things. Now you're coming up for a re-election, but even besides that, you've been working real hard with the community to get some things done, whether it's farmers' issues, whether it's employment, school issues, because I know you're very being progressive on education. So give me an idea where you're at and what you're doing.
Well, right now we're concentrating on, we have a farm share program that's going to be on August 15th, and we have Nemours Hospital and other entities that are going to participate with us. We're also, the farm share is a program where they provide fresh vegetables. It's a trailer, and we are also going to provide food, backpacks for kids. So it's a combination of labor, unions, community,
really?
Everybody getting together.
Okay.
Well, we want to show the community that I felt that you can't forget the needy and the children that are going back to school. It's a week before going back to school. And I think we're going to have a good response, and it's something that I look forward to doing it.
How did you manage to get all these guys together? Because normally you can't, we can't get these people to buy cookies together. So how did you manage to do that? Well, that in itself is a miracle.
When you have a blessed staff, I have Camilla Brown, my legislative aide, and Alexandria Ayala, Puerto Riqueña, working on my staff, and they coordinate many of the issues and many of the things that they reach out and make it happen. And all I have to do is follow up by making a call and saying, hey, Jose, you want to participate? We need donations to buy the backpacks. We have also a partnership with LACLA to get a nonprofit so we can buy the backpacks through the group, the nonprofit group. Okay. So it's a good cause, and it's a good way of getting the community involved and knowing that we don't forget them.
Sure.
And it continues to be a struggle for people to know. I have people coming into my office constantly. If it isn't For instance, a lady has a license from Massachusetts. She was a CNA, and she committed a crime, a felony, but it was 21 years ago.
Right.
And you're trying to help them establish themselves. And all they're here because their mother is ill, so they're trying to establish themselves over here, and you're going like, the judge gave them a sentence. They completed the sentence. They paid the restitution, $400, by the way.
Okay.
And they just moving on with their life, and they want help over here. So you have many Latinos, African Americans, and whites who come through my office, and they'll like, hey, can you help me in this, or child support cases.
Right.
There's many issues that happen in the community. What you see is the need for you to keep on letting people know that you're out there and you're there for them.
Right. You're an education person as well.
I'm on the education committee.
Right. And so I've heard this great conversation that Latinos are coming over from, let's say, from the island of Puerto Rico, for example. We're not even counting the regular immigration thing that we have for Mexicans or Dominicans, whoever.
Right.
But we're having a lot of Spanish people coming, okay? They're about to overwhelm our system in some aspect, I'm being told. So how do you feel going forward? How do we start to deal with this? Are we having a flood? Are we having a tide? And if so, do we wear bathing suits, or what do we do here to overcome?
Well, I think we have a real good relationship with the Orange County School Board and the administration. As we move along, as we see, especially in my district, many Latino, mucho Hispano, mucho de Puerto Rico, you know, and making sure that our principals and our schools are being well funded and making sure that the money is getting there to them. We also have the problem where in the legislature they wanted $50 million for charter schools and $50 million for local schools. My question was, how many charter schools compared to how many public schools?
Right.
You know, is that a fair $50 million? No, because we know our public school provide more than what is given to them. And they are doing a job that it's not perfect. We know it's not perfect, but at least they're making an effort, and we trying to make sure that it happens with our schools, you know, with our kids.
What do you say when people are actually comparing schools, let's say for the last 100 years, okay? We'll just use that as an example. So for 100 years, we've been trying to make the apple. Okay, for 100 years, we've been projecting and promising that we're going to make change. And what we've done so far to some is we've created failure. And now miraculously, we have these charter schools that are just pretty perfect, okay? So how do you speak to that?
I don't know if they're pretty perfect. I think the idea that
the idea, the concept.
Yeah, the concept is that our public schools, our school board, and the administration is keeping an eye on the charter schools to see how they perform. Because you remember that a charter school is not the same population as our public schools.
Okay.
So if you open up a charter school and you are 200 kids, you're not set to the same standards as our public schools. But that is slowly changing because in Tallahassee, we're bringing out, why are we spending more money, PICO dollars for charter schools? Why are we sending more voucher money and taking it out of our public schools? So these are issues that affect our kids. Mind you, if a parent chooses that their child, sea hispano, sea blanco, lo que sea, if they want to change and they want to try a school that their kids can go to, then you know, you don't stop them. You try it and see. Now remember, not too long ago, you saw some kids on TV where their charter school closed up
in the middle of the day.
The kids were standing out there. The teachers were owed over a month pay. Right? I didn't forget. And I want the public to realize this. This is something that happens, and without our control. And then parents are held, you know, holding the bag and saying, "What happened? My kid's out here. You don't tell us that you're
But they're also blaming the public school system for the failure of that particular.
I don't see how.
Well, where's the money come from? to begin with. So isn't the money, some of that money come from the piggy bank that's supposed to be for the public schools?
Yeah, well, it's taken out of the public schools and it's given to those charter schools.
Okay.
So in essence, they have to put an application. Jose Miranda, student so-and-so, he's going to be going to this charter school. So the funds that will go to a public school will be coming, it's going to the charter school. Listen, Jose.
So we're talking about money.
Yeah, well, it's all about money. It's always been about money.
So this is not a charter school, it's a business.
Thank you.
And education happens to be a byproduct of the business.
Well,
is that what you would? You don't want to say that, but I'm saying it. That's what it looks like.
It's
I have a factory, and the workers are the kids. Okay, and so I'm being paid a salary for the workers. Is that?
Well, what happens is some charter schools are proficient. They are what they call public charter schools. That means they work with the school system as well.
Right.
And then there's the other one, for-profit charter schools.
Okay.
So we have to look and evaluate how a charter school.
They're still getting money from the government. It's still coming out of this pocket.
Out of our pockets.
Right. So out of our
pockets.
to come and pay for something that's not really saying is successful. Okay, what we're saying is it appears on some cases is better, some not so much, but yet we have a public school that's pretty much been running on point to most of the degrees. I'm sure there's room to get better.
I'm gonna be honest. I read an article where we still have a growing waiting list for 8,000 Early Learning Coalition kids.
Really?
This is a concern for me because in the first time I was up there, my concern was homeless kids, domestic violence children.
Right.
You know, how do we approach them? How do we get them to go to school and be part of the program? Because you know they have a hard life. Now, when you see that, you ought to have Karen Willis come here. She's a real fighter for Early Learning Coalition to get money, funds, and I've tried over and over again to see how I can direct funds into Orange County. Orange County is very resourceful. Orange County has Dick Batchelor that have sent tax, you know, for reconstruction of schools and all that. So to me, you have people here who are really concerned, who really want to do a really outstanding job. The problem is in Tallahassee is how do you get the opposition to understand we need funds in our local systems here. You know.
Well, we are here to make that noise for you. So
that's good.
Please utilize us the best way you can. I want to thank you so much for joining me.
No, it's my pleasure.
We run out of time.
No.
We got to have you back to continue. Okay.
Oh, by all means.
I'm Jose Miranda, along with Victor Torres, a representative. We will be right back.
Hi, and I'm Altero, and I'm a Latina role model. And I want to tell you, cut your excuses in half and face your fears. Fears are holding you back to becoming who you are meant to be in this world. Everybody has the potential to become whoever they decide to do. Follow your passion, follow your dream, and you'll be happy always.
Are you proud to be Hispanic?
Hispanics in Florida now have the first Hispanic car license plate in the United States.
Be a proud Hispanic.
Put the Hispanic plate on your car.
I want to be a doctor.
I want to be a scientist.
I want to be an engineer.
I want to be a police officer.
I want to be a professional dancer.
By getting the Hispanic plate for your car,
you will support scholarships and community programs.
Call now or visit HispanicAchievers.org.
Welcome back. I'm Jose Miranda. This is Hispanic Speak Out, of course, and it's brought to you every week on Tuesday nights at 9:30 on Bright House 49. Of course, we have two other programs that come on there. We have Education TV, and of course, we have Latino role models. Last time, we were speaking to the Chief of Police, Bob Hansell of Osceola County, but we didn't get a chance to really finish it, so I asked him to come back and speak on subjects that we didn't previously cover. So welcome back.
Jose.
I appreciate your time as always. Last time we were talking about, you know, how your department, how you formulate it, how you go out of your way to recruit and try to get the right caliber of individuals. I am of a school that, and I know you graduated from one of the academies out here, but what do you think are the possibilities would be if we created two academies, for example, one on the south side, one on the north side, and then all the police officers from the state train out of those two divisions exactly the same way, so that we could utilize them in some capacity, because each will be trained how the other is thinking, except for the little nuances that the individual towns or counties have. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that philosophy?
Well, you know, the Criminal Justice Training Council, their outline is exactly, every academy has to follow the same exact outline. Every academy, whether it's in Pensacola or Key West, has to teach the same material, the same amount of time. Now, there are some nuances that throw in that maybe we don't offer at our academy, right. but the basic 770 hours of law enforcement training is exactly the same throughout the state, and those regional academies meet every quarter on a regular basis to make sure that the training that is offered is brought up to date and up to speed based on changes in the Criminal Justice Training Commission's guidelines and changes in statutes. So they do cover the same law enforcement related areas, right. And they have to, like I said, they have to teach them that many times.
That many times, right.
That much time in that amount of.
Still, when a person gets stopped, they are treated differently almost on each. You know, state troopers will react one way. I don't know whether part of bravado or versus a local police officer. Why can't we all be on the same page?
Well, we can if. What we do at the sheriff's office is when we bring our officers in, we teach them. You want to say traffic stops, or say okay. we have a block of training that deals nothing but with safe and legal traffic stops. Okay. And we mean safe for the officer and safe for the motorist too, right. And make sure that everything is legal. And that is a class that is given throughout the state, but. In the academy, they're all taught the same way as far as traffic stops, what you can stop for, what you can't stop for, what you can search for, what you can't search for. So it's all in there. It's just that what level of training does every agency
add to it?
Okay. There's minimum training that has to be done every year, so you can keep your certificate. Okay. But some go well beyond that, and some just beat the bare minimum. Whether it's because of resources, maybe they can't afford it, or they don't have the manpower to cover shifts when they go to training. So there's a lot of little things that play into how much training a police officer receives. Okay.
We're having a tremendous influx of Hispanics into Florida. Mm-hmm. A lot, not just, and some say the highest migrations in the 1940s, for example. So that's going to increase the number of police. It's going to increase the number of people versus police officers, for example. And some budgets will be able to accommodate that. Some won't by adding more officers. But even in addition of adding more officers, how do you go thinking ahead to help deal with this new influx of people who don't know you guys, who don't know the system? And how do you go about training the officers for that, or do you?
Oh, we do. We have, and it's required by the state too. There's a diversity program that's required by the state that you have to go in and you have to be taught so many hours of human diversity. You know, not only Hispanic, but it could be anything from transgender to gay. It could be anything that you go in and you're taught this class, and it's basically the golden rule almost. You know, do unto others. Right. And so and like I said in our previous interview, it's all about. It starts with your hiring process. If you have people that during your hiring process, whether it's a psychological or the oral review board or the interview or the written portion of the test or the skills test itself, that show propensities that they're not very open-minded about people outside their own comfort zone or their own. That's a telltale sign.
Well, there's a difference though from an officer who grows up in a rural atmosphere as opposed to urban.
Yeah. Well, right? I'll give you an example. Okay. I grew up in Osceola County. Okay. And Osceola County is very small, but
not anymore.
Not anymore. But it was very small, very rural. It was mostly agriculture, whether it was citrus or cattle industry. That's all it was. And you would think that I would be somewhat, stuck in my ways. Let's go back to the old time. But through my offerings from my agencies when I was working there, plus through my own willing to educate myself and everything, you learn you become more intelligent as how to handle people that come from different cultures. Whether, like I said, we have more than just the Puerto Rican Hispanic culture. We have multinational. I think one high school down there covers 141 nationalities. So it's an ongoing task that we have to do. But it's, like I said, it just reverts back to the golden rule. If you're, I don't care if you're black, brown, or green, you still get treated the same way.
Well, you should.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we try to instill in our training program.
Okay. Officers, I raised my hand to take duty, God and country, the department and all that kind of good stuff. I go out into the street, I have 4 great years of doing things. And then all of a sudden, a little screw goes off of my head, and I'm no longer that cop anymore. I've changed. We don't have a system where we bring the officer back in to have a conversation with, to see how he's doing, how his personal life is doing, whether he's lost a few screws up in there, because our job is hard, strenuous. Do we need something like that in place? Should we have something like that in place?
We don't have, it's not a formal class, but we train our supervisors, our first line supervisors, the people that are out there working with the individual every day. And they're the ones that have been trained to recognize any change in personality, any change in how they handle people, any change in who they're arresting or not they're arresting, as far as looking for those telltale signs that maybe there's a problem in this guy's home life or his psychic self.
Sure.
But that's why I tell people when they get promoted to sergeant, a sergeant, I said, you are the most important ranked individual here, because you have to answer to the people that you work for and the people that work for you. And I said, and you have to deliver a product that is approved by both. And you have to deal with not only the problems of your squad or your unit, you have to deal with problems that people complain about your squad or your unit.
Sure.
So we try to train them as best as we can to notice those nuances or those changes in somebody. And then if there is such a thing, if there's an alcohol abuse problem or a home life problem, we try to intervene with counseling. We have counselors that we are contracted with that we take these people to. We don't punish them. We don't take them, take their money away from them or suspend them. We send them for help to try to make sure that this individual who we've invested a lot of time with and a lot of energy with is not just going to be cast aside because he's developed a couple of problems.
Sure.
We try to recognize those problems and try to get him the help in the program that he needs to overcome it.
Police officers have a code. We've always had a code. We keep to ourselves. We take care of our own. We take care of our families within this blue wall or green wall or whatever color uniform you're wearing. How do you allow for officers to come forward to complain about an individual officer or a supervisor or whatever, that something is wrong and is not being addressed?
Well, we do have it. And another thing is we also, people nowadays are very connected. Social media, whether it's your friends or your workmates, they're so connected, and people will reach out, maybe not personally, me to you personally, reach out to say they have a problem or you see a change, but you can tell by their Facebook or their tweets or whatever they do, and so we encourage people to take those. Like I said, we really rely on our first line supervisor to notice that, and in his supervision of what's going on in his unit, it should be very apparent that there's something there. But we don't hold Joe Deputy Partner accountable for that guy. If he comes in and says, listen, I think Joe Blow has a problem at home. He's treating these people out here on the streets. Like we don't make him the focal point of it. We reach out not as a
but that officer
thing.
can say something.
Yes, he
about
can.
It, right?
Absolutely,
And
it's very
saying
open.
that
And he can stay anonymous.
Aggressive, right?
Yeah,
Right.
and he can report it. And what we're trying to do is trying to recognize the problem and trying to get the help that individual needs. And if we show we're doing that, then more people will come forward if somebody is a little.
But we have
off-plumb.
officers that are emailing each other, texting each other, and inappropriate things to women and stuff like that. And you're saying about your supervisors. Your supervisors don't appear to be on top of it, not you specifically, but just police officers in general.
I hope you're talking law enforcement.
Law enforcement, yeah.
Yeah, there's been,
so what do we do about that?
There has been,
and we don't want to police the police.
Yeah, and there's been incidences where you see police officers, they'll text or email or whatever, inappropriate or somewhat in violation of policy or everything. And the only way that we know that is if somebody reports it to us.
Right.
But we also, in this day and age, can check everything that the officer does from his SO issued stuff. And now personal, it's hard for, unless somebody comes and tells us, hey, this is, Joe's sending out whatever propaganda. There's nothing that we can enter into that.
Okay.
But with anything that is done in the office or on office equipment or anything, it can be found out.
What about officers engaging in Ku Klux Klan, some other hate groups and stuff like that? How do you deal with it? We got about a minute. How do you deal with it?
Well, it's another thing where if they're in a secret society, some type of secret society, if there's no cause to think that, they could probably go for a long time underneath that. But like I said, if there's somebody involved in some kind of some kind of group that is antisocial or anti-American or whatever, we should have noticed that from the very beginning. Not saying it doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's right.
But when it is found out, we have to take immediate action, because we can't ruin the trust that we give the community.
Sure.
We can't have somebody that's a neo-Nazi or Klan member or gang member as a law enforcement officer. There's just no way we can do that.
Right.
And so our stance would be we'd have to drum them out and try to learn from what went wrong in our hiring process for that individual.
Sure.
Why didn't we pick that up from the beginning? So,
Robert, as always, man.
Absolutely.
There's so much to talk about.
Exactly.
We could do that for days.
Yeah.
Listen, law enforcement is a very important thing. Remember how your attitude with the police officer also is an issue. So let's work both ways of the sign. If there's an issue, contact their heads and try to get it done. I'm Jose Miranda. This has been Hispanic Speak Out TV. We'll see you next week, same time, same channel, okay?
This show has been brought to you by Taino Light Beer, coming to your favorite retailer in September in Central Florida. This show is brought to you by Boricua Beer, coming to your local retailer in September.
My name is Janitzi Velez, and I'm a proud Latina role model. Please embrace your uniqueness, be gracious, and everything that you do it with courage. You are great, and you will do great things.
I'm Attorney Yara Rodriguez. I am very proud to be a Latina role model. And for you, my message is never quit. Keep at it and work 24/7 for whatever dream you have, because your dream will become a reality.
I am for the child who's had 7 addresses in a single year, because she's in foster care, because her father abused her, and her mother couldn't believe her. She is the child I am for. I am a volunteer child advocate. I am you.
Florida residents call toll-free 866-341-1425.